Reeves to announce major change to fiscal rules, releasing PS50BN for spending. Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. We hope you are doing well. Sure, let's dive into this topic and expand on it. So Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, is about to make a significant announcement at the International Monetary Fund (IMF) that could really change the financial landscape of the UK. Yeah, it's a big deal. She's planning to introduce a new approach to how the UK assesses its debt, which could potentially allow the government to spend an additional PS50 billion on infrastructure projects. That's quite a sum. Alright, so after weeks of anticipation and speculation, Reeves is set to confirm this at the IMF's annual meetings in Washington on Thursday. It's like everyone's been waiting to see what direction she's going to take. The upcoming budget will include this new method for assessing the UK's debt position, which opens the door for the Treasury to borrow more specifically for long-term capital investments. That's important because investing in infrastructure can have a positive ripple effect throughout the economy. Now, the IMF has actually been advocating for this kind of spending. They've pointed out that the UK needs to focus on its infrastructure to repair the economic damage caused by the pandemic and the ongoing cost of living crisis. So, yeah, this aligns well with their recommendations. It's a smart move to prioritize infrastructure as it can provide jobs and stimulate economic growth. Reeves hasn't given specifics yet about which of the various debt measures she'll choose. However, a senior government source hinted that she's likely going to focus on something called Public Sector Net Financial Liabilities, or PSNFL. Let's break that down a bit. This measure will replace the existing public sector net debt metric and will take into account not just the government's debt, but also its financial assets and liabilities. This includes things like student loans, equity stakes in private companies, and funded pension schemes. I see how this gives the Chancellor a bit more wiggle room, right? By switching to this PSNFL measure, the Chancellor will have more space to increase borrowing for essential infrastructure investments. It's a strategic shift aimed at fostering economic growth in the long term. Before heading to the IMF, Reeves stated, "A Britain built on the rock of economic stability is a Britain that is a strong and credible international partner." This emphasizes that economic stability is crucial, not just domestically but also on the international stage. She also mentioned that the upcoming budget is intended to serve as a reset for the economy, focusing on laying the foundations for future growth. This is important because a strong economy can help the UK better navigate international challenges like conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine. It's all interconnected, right? Now, let's take a moment to consider the fiscal rules that Labour inherited from Jeremy Hunt, Reeves's predecessor. These rules dictated that day-to-day spending must be covered by revenues, and debt as a share of the economy should be on a downward trajectory by the fifth year of forecasts made by the Office for Budget Responsibility. This framework can be quite limiting when it comes to making necessary investments, which is probably why Reeves is looking for alternatives. Interestingly, Hunt was only narrowly meeting his debt rule by about PS8.9 billion after implementing significant tax cuts. At the same time, there were considerable spending pressures due to high debt servicing costs and increasing demands on public services. It's like a balancing act that's really tricky. If Hunt had adopted the PSNFL target back in March, it could have provided him with an additional PS53 billion in borrowing capacity, which shows just how impactful this new approach could be. The Treasury has indicated that, while they are embracing this new rule, they may not immediately use the full extent of the additional borrowing capacity. Instead, they plan to implement guardrails to ensure that any investment projects are delivering value for money. This is a sensible approach. It means they want to be cautious and make sure that they're not just throwing money at projects without considering their long-term benefits. Sources have suggested that the focus of the capital spending in the upcoming budget will be on energy and transport projects. Yeah, those sectors are crucial for modernizing infrastructure and addressing the UK's long-term economic needs. Now, regarding the nature of the rule changes, it seems that Reeves is not going for the most radical option. Instead of adopting the public sector net worth PSNW measure, which also includes non-financial assets like schools, hospitals, and the road network, she's opting for the more focused PSNFL. This decision suggests that she's aiming for a balance between flexibility and fiscal responsibility. And in her budget announcement, Reeves will make it clear that the government's primary fiscal rule will remain that day-to-day spending should be financed through tax receipts, while borrowing is reserved for capital spending. This could mean that, in the short term, tax increases and spending cuts of up to PS50 billion might be on the horizon. I mean, that's a substantial amount, and it raises questions about how this will impact public services and the general populace. So, as we look ahead to the budget on October 30th, the implications of Reeves's announcement will be closely scrutinized. How will this new assessment method for debt be received by various stakeholders? Will it actually lead to the intended investments in infrastructure, or will there be challenges along the way? In conclusion, Rachel Reeves's impending announcement at the IMF signals a significant shift in how the UK will approach its fiscal strategy, particularly concerning debt and infrastructure investment. By adopting the PSNFL measure, she aims to provide more flexibility for long-term capital investments, potentially revitalizing the economy after the setbacks of the pandemic and ongoing economic pressures. While there are cautious steps being taken to ensure value for money, the success of these plans will depend on how effectively they're implemented and whether they can genuinely address the pressing needs of the UK's infrastructure. It's a pivotal moment, and it'll be interesting to see how everything unfolds.
Thanks for watching our video. Please hit the bell icon and subscribe the channel. Thank you.